Hello knitters, Barbara Benson here. I am an independent knitwear designer who also likes to make videos here on my YouTube channel, Watch Barbara Knit, and we are here live. It is the last Thursday of the month, and this is when we do our live. I want to thank everyone who has joined me here tonight. I can't wait to have a little chat with y'all. Brian Wilson asked, what was the yarn that you said everyone should have in their stash? I saw the video, but can't remember what it was. Mercerized cotton is what I said. And what that is mercerized cotton is a very slick, non-grabby cotton, and I use it for waste yarn, which was kind of a little bit of a clickbait video. But what it is having a yarn that is really dedicated, like just a ball of something that's in a color that will always be visible in your work, something you probably will never work with. And the mercerized cotton is thin. Well, you can have it in different weights, but it is smooth, so you can use it at waste yarn. It won't get caught in your work. It ties off. It's inexpensive, and it's just a really, really useful thing to have. I know I have some somewhere, but it's probably, oh, there it is. This is my ball. This is my ball. This is specifically Patton's Grace. This ball, I've had this ball for years. I use it little tiny bits at a time. As you can see, it's really smooth. It's shiny. And this is a color that it's a light color. I can see it. And I'm never going to knit with this color. So I can always see it in my thing. Trish says, I raised my eyebrows like, why? But then my explanation is a good one. No, I know it was a trick question. It was one of those 5 things you should never put in your grocery cart kind of videos, but in a positive way. I should probably do 5 yarns you should never have in your stash, and it'd be like yarn with bugs in it or something, because I love all yarn. Mary Ann, I love that your patterns often incorporate multicolor yarns that look great in the skein and then end up being difficult to find a way to knit them to look. Mary Ann, I teach a 3-hour class about that. In my 3-hour class, that's tips and tricks on working with variegated yarn, I share that I like pretty much 90% of the reason I designed my first shawl was because I was trying to figure out patterns that looked good in variegated yarn, because I loved variegated yarn and I would try to knit them in patterns and they always looked like barf. So I'm glad that you say that about a lot of my patterns, because a lot of my patterns were very specifically designed to play nicely with variegated yarns, because I love them. Kathleen has asked, do you like twist cable or are they annoying? I love swivel cables. Swivel cables are my favorite kind of cable because they cut down on the flippies. So this one actually, I'm kind of making it do it, but you know, the flippies, when it goes all flippy like that, it's super annoying. And the swivel and also the motion of my knitting, y'all have watched me knit, y'all watched videos of me knitting. Especially when I'm purling, I do a lot of this bit in my knitting, and with the swivel cables, it really helps. If you don't have as much energy or motion in your knitting, they might not be as big of an issue. Vicky, I knit with no vision, so I prefer easy patterns you can remember. Great. That is fantastic. I try to design easy patterns, and I try to design not so easy patterns because sometimes I get bored. And in my brain, actually, I divide my patterns up into 2 categories and I rhyme them. I have my lazy patterns and my crazy patterns. So I try to, but what I really try to do with most of my patterns is do something that looks like it took a lot more effort than it actually did. That's why I love mosaic, because it looks like you're doing something fancy, but you're just knitting stripes and slipping stitches. I like to try to work tricks into things where it looks like you're doing something horribly complex, but it really is just like a fairly predictable, trying to make simple look more complicated. It's hard and I don't always succeed, but that is what I really like to do. Um, Am Sterling asked me, what weight is kitchen cotton thread equivalent to? I I I literally have no idea. I'm sorry. I don't even know exactly what kitchen cotton thread would be considered. Let me type that into the old Google. Kitchen cotton thread. Okay, well, there's a Lion brand kitchen cotton. Is that the one you're talking about? Lion brand kitchen cotton. So actually what we're going to do is, okay, I'm going to do a little screen share here. And we are going to go and type in this great website. Here we go. So this is yarnsub.com. Okay. And I'm going to type in kitchen cotton, Lion brand kitchen cotton. So this is saying that it is an Aran weight yarn. Trish is asking, does the swivel cut down on the cables coming unscrewed? I honestly have not done a survey of that. Okay, washcloth cotton. Oh, you're talking about kitchen twine, M. Sterling. Okay, we're going to make this go back. I honestly have no idea. You're just talking about regular grocery store kitchen twine. The way to determine that would be to use a WPI tool, a wraps per inch tool. And I have one somewhere that I don't know where it is. So a WPI tool is essentially, I mean, you can use a ruler if you wanted to. What you do is you take whatever you're trying to measure and wrap it gently. You don't want to pull it tight because that'll affect it, and see how many wraps you can get in an inch. And then you can find scales online that tell you how many wraps per inch each weight is. Vicky, you are a newish knitter but have been a crocheter. Dude, good on you. Crocheting is awesome. Lace weight needles for lace knitting. I personally, when I'm knitting, the finer yarn I'm knitting, and if I'm knitting actual lace, the number one concern that I have is how pointy it is. And because I want a sharp point to be able to manipulate stitches, I'm talking about metal needles. I have yet to find a wooden needle that can hold the same kind of point a metal needle does. So your Hayahayas or your Chaogus have your best points. And those are the ones that my go-tos for lace knitting. I hope that is information. Okay, Yaidi says that the swivel cables help. You're using the lantern moon cables on your mindful needles. That is good to know that those are interchangeable. Thank you. Okay, so Devoted to Knit says that it's DK weight. So excellent. So kitchen twine, the thing you tie your chicken up with, is DK weight. See, Vicky, I'm looking for something sharpish and grabby. See, that's the problem. Sharp and grabby don't really go together, because to get sharp, you have to have, I mean, you need metal to get sharp. One option that might work, if you can get a hold of them, are the Carbonz, Karbonz. And those are actually carbon fiber needles with metal points. They don't come in larger sizes, but they come in smaller sizes. And the problem is as they scale up, the tips get blunter, but in the smaller sizes, which is what you'd be using for lace weight yarn, they are pretty darn pointy. So they're going to be grabbier than a slick metal needle. So that might be a good thing. See, Marcella Chang. See, Marcella is saying the Addi lace needles are very sharp. Marcella, are those wood or metal? Because the Addis that I have had are also slick. Yes, I love Haya Sharps. And if you Haya Sharps, their interchangeables have a swivel. So I've been known to buy Haya tips and a cable and just attach them to each other and never take them apart. Oh, Okay, the top down crescent. I know what you're talking. I thought you were talking. So, it's going to come out when it's done. I am hoping this is the project I'm planning on taking with me when I go to Seattle next weekend. So I'm hoping between the flight there and the flight back, I will get it done. So hopefully sometime middle to late April, because it'll have to go through tech editing and I'll have to get photographs. I can show you though, I have gotten into the second color. See, so I finished the first color and I did a sweet eyelet row, and now we're into the second color. So we are there, but I have this much left to knit. But hopefully, big long flights to Seattle, they should hopefully get me some dedicated knitting time. What length of DPNs a beginner should try first? 5, 6, or 8? I do not use DPNs. I hate them. We hates them. No, I don't care for DPNs. It's going to depend on what you're knitting. If you're knitting socks, the short ones may or may not fall out. I would start with medium and see how you like them. That's just my guess. Any sock knitters or any DPN lovers, you can answer her. But I don't like DPNs. I magic loop everything. I will magic loop, like when I'm knitting a mitt and I have 8 stitches for a thumb, magic loop. I will magic loop it on a 60-inch needle if I have to, but I do not. DPNs are not my. The only thing I use DPNs for is when I can't find a cable needle. That's pretty much all I use it for. Okay, so Katie Klein is saying do not use 8-inch DPNs. She is working with a set of 8 inches and they're just too long for most things. I think the 8-inch DPNs are typically when people are doing like sleeves or even hats. So 5 and 6. So there is. See, and I knew y'all would get it. I knew y'all would give me the information. I'm sorry when I don't have the answer, but I'm so glad that we have such wonderful people willing to share their experience. Eco Chic is saying she needs at least 1 inch on either end of the DPN. So it depends on what circumference you're knitting. And she said something about how bamboo, the clover needles are pointier. So that is really cool. You are not a weirdo, Cat Letty. Well, actually, I can't tell you if you're weirdo or not, but you're not a weirdo for liking DPNs. You like what you like. You work with whatever works for you. There's, you know what, as long as you are enjoying your knitting and getting a product that's what you're trying to get, I don't care if you knit upside down and backwards. You're not a weirdo for how you knit. You could be a weirdo for other reasons, but that's okay too. I mean, I make tiny shawls for action figures of Commander Riker from Star Trek Next Generation. So I don't know that I can judge weirdo. Chow-Goo shorties. Actually, yes. So the Chow-Goo shorties, the Haya flyers, the Addy flips, I think they're called. Those are all very cool. And I have a set of the flyers. So what, Jonna, these are an in-between for DPN, somewhere in between DPN and Magic Loop. So what it is it's essentially 3 tiny circular needles, and it's like knitting with 4 DPNs, like this, except for they're connected by cable, so there's fewer jump points. And so you hold them, you got half your stitches on one needle and half your stitches on the other, and you work onto this, and it transfers just like you're working DPNs, except for you have 4 fewer points. So those can be really, some people really like these if they love DPNs, but they find these. Now, these are the Haya flyers, and they are quite literally the sharpest needles I have ever worked with. They are almost painful. The other thing I've noticed is between these and the Addy flips, the Addy flip, actually the tip itself is longer and the cable is shorter. And personally, I work better with a longer tip. So there are differences, and I haven't seen the Chow-Goo ones. So I'm curious how that. Trish says straight needles fall out. I drop straight needles all the time. 2 circulars. Oh, Arnetta uses 2 circulars. That's another technique. There's so many different ways to work small circumferences in the round. You just need to find the one that works for you. Pamela has asked, do I still work at a good yarn? Yes, I do. I love working at a good yarn. It is super fun. I'm not currently giving lessons. You can get private lessons, but typically it's Susan that teaches them, and she is the owner, but we could work something out. I just haven't. No real reason. Karen has asked, any advice on dealing with hand pain after knitting? Lots of breaks while knitting. Stretching while knitting. There are a couple of books on the ergonomics. I've actually been having problems with my thumb. And as I said, I was knitting all day and I currently can't feel the tip of my middle finger on my right hand. It's all pins and needles. And I have a pain right here. Repetitive strain injury is just a symptom of extended knitting. Stopping, stretching. When you are knitting, making sure that your shoulders don't do this. Consciously thinking about pushing your shoulders down and keeping your knitting lower in your lap. I have problems with shoulder pain when I'm knitting. And what I do is I'll turn and put my arm back like this. And you can't see it, but my wrist is resting on the arm and then I'm pushing forward, and that stretches these muscles, because a lot of time pain that you get down here is actually nerves being pinched up here. So stopping, stretching out your shoulders, stretching out your hands, and, doing that periodically. Sitting and knitting for hours and hours and hours is going to lead to repetitive strain injury. It's just the way it is. Okay, so Trish, book by Carson Demers. So the Carson Demers book is the good one. There we go. So is Knitting Comfortably, the ergonomics of hand knitting. So there we go. Thank you, Trish. And if Clara Parks says it's good, Clara Parks has written so many amazing, amazing books. And The Yarn Harlots, definitely Pearl McPhee. So it doesn't really get much more of a recommendation than that. So there we go. And Trish has recommended it. So I trust her more because I actually know her. Anne Elizabeth has recommended it as also. There we go. 3 people. Robin. So that book. Barbara, I've seen many sweater patterns that I love, except for the neckline. I have a surgical star. I need to change the neckline. So I don't knit garments. I don't knit garments. I don't know how to change necklines. I do have, excuse me, I do have a book. This one here. This might be helpful. Knitwear Design Workshop, A Comprehensive Guide to Hand Knits by Shirley Payton. She is one of the greats. And I would not be surprised if this didn't have something in it that talks about how to adjust. I mean, it has a whole thing on taking measurements. So this is when I pretend like I'm going to learn how to design sweaters. I pretend, I try. I don't. Oh, here we go. So here we go. Chapter 10. Neckbands, collars, and lapels. We've got round collar, V-neck collar, square collar, medium round neckband, high round neckband, square neckband. So it's got a whole section on how to do some of this stuff. So this is the one book, like when I was trying to figure it out. So yeah. So Shirley Payton, she is the bomb diggity. I'm sure there are other books. This is the one that when I was pretending like I was going to learn how to knit and design, and one day maybe, but it is not something I have managed to do. Marcella, excellent idea. If it's crew neck, you can turn it into a turtleneck. Yes, it's so fun to pretend like you're going to do these exciting things. You want to know the other awesome book? This one. This is the monster book. So this is an encyclopedia. I have not read this book because you use it like a reference book. So I'm pretty sure you could look in here and look up necklines and it could give you advice. It is just an enormous book. I'm really grateful for y'all for joining us and chatting. Maybe next time we can have some more knitting content. I really appreciate y'all jumping in when I don't have an answer to a question, because I don't have all the answers. I don't even want to pretend like I have all the answers. And I always learn things in these end of month discussions. Thank y'all so much for joining me. Really have enjoyed it. Maybe y'all can come up for some questions for next month. Thank you all. Good night and happy knitting. Have a lovely, lovely weekend.